much of it has been, it's still depressing. And you grew up in a suburban area around Chicago. I grew up in a mill town in central Massachusetts. And for some reason, I've been thinking about the people who we know together, the people who we grew up with together, this morning. And the people who get thrilled and go out of their way to go see a presidential motorcade, or certainly
President Trump has said it's essential to confirm Amy Coney Barrett before the election.
I think it's very important. I think this will end up in the Supreme Court. And I think it's very important that we have 9 justices.
Ted Cruz is also ready for a court fight, although in his narrative it is far more likely to come from Joe Biden's side.
And so we could have multiple conflicting opinions from multiple courts of appeals and weeks or months of chaos and uncertainty.
I want to address the substance and the process here, and of course we don't know the exact substance of what a case would be, but we should note it is President Trump who has said this will end up in the Supreme Court. It is President Trump who, without any basis in fact, has said there will be massive fraud in mail-in ballots, which have been used safely for many, many years. Would you support the president in challenging this election regardless, which is what he seems to be ready to do if he is not immediately declared the winner?
You know, I think that's the press narrative, and I actually think it's backwards from what's likely to happen.
But I mean, it's his words, it's not my narrative, it's his words.
For 4 years, the Democrats have refused to accept the legitimacy of the last election, 2016. But there's no doubt if the election is close, Trump likewise may file litigation. From the Supreme Court's perspective, it doesn't matter who files the litigation. The question is, do we have a tribunal that can resolve it and make sure that we're following the law? You can have the 9th Circuit resolving a challenge in Arizona and the 11th Circuit.
Yeah. Something Mason probably heard, you know. We're up in co-op country. But it could be KU going to Lexington. Who knows? Turns out Duke Power may be for sale.
Really? Oh, did you hear that Moscow was closing in some other place?
No. More need for solar.
That's what I thought was.
Here comes somebody passing 3 cars. Gets out there and sits there. I mean, if you're gonna go, dude.
Resolving a challenge in Florida and 1 or 2 other courts engaged. And normally those would all go to the Supreme Court to have one uniform answer for the country. If the court is 4-4, it lacks legal authority to decide, and I don't think we should roll the dice and take that risk.
Some people listening will know that you rolled the dice in 2016, left a seat open so that Republicans would have a chance to fill it, and there was an 8-member Supreme Court in 2016. What's any different between now and then?
Well, and you were right that there was risk if there had been litigation and that 8-member Supreme Court was a deadlock. The difference is long historic practice that the Senate does not confirm a nominee from a president of the Republican Party during a presidential election year.
Let me just ask
Are you going to slow down now that you're passing?
Here that we face the possibility of it going to the Supreme Court. As you know, the president has openly said, I want to appoint a justice in time to potentially rule in the case that I myself would be a litigant in before the Supreme Court. Should Amy Coney Barrett recuse herself from any case, given that the president said he wanted to appoint her to rule on that case?
Of course not, any more than Steve Breyer should recuse himself because he was appointed by a Democrat, or Elena Kagan because she was appointed by the Obama-Biden administration. That's not the way the Supreme Court works.
I don't think those presidents appointed anyone to rule on a specific case, though. In this case, the president says, I want the justice there to rule on this specific case.
I don't know what
is he doing? He's blinking his lights like, oh shit, that's why.
Because it's clear there's an election coming up November 3rd, and either side could litigate it, and we need a court that can resolve that litigation.
Okay. Thank you, Senator. Appreciate it. Hope we talk to you.
Like that.
Thank you.
Yes, we did. Oh my goodness, we turn here. And that was the police.
From sustaining members like you and the law firm of Ulmer and Bird.
Oh, you don't go this.
Solve
Is it?
business problems, delivering useful solutions, and putting the needs of clients first.
Okay,
More than
I'm sorry.
More
That road's
information
closed.
can be found at ulmer.com. That's ulmer.com. Ulmer. Our business begins with you.
So
Support
there's
comes from
the
sustaining
old
members
road.
like you
Okay.
and the Kentucky Lottery, providing over $3.8 billion in college grants and scholarships to students in Kentucky. 100% of Keys scholarships and comes from Kentucky Lottery Post.
My gosh, there's Forest Retreat and everything off.
And comes from Kentucky Lottery Post.
My gosh, there's Forest Retreat and everything off to there.
Additional gift for a 50th anniversary, but I feel certain that WBXU is willing to accept a credit card gift instead. Hey, I'm Elsa Chang, and on behalf of everyone at NPR, we would like to wish member station WBXU a very happy 50th anniversary. There's a lot going on these days, so there won't be a big event, but we can still come together to celebrate and support this wonderful station. Give your gift at WBXU.org.
Began to emerge, particularly in Orthodox Jewish communities. Now some leaders are considering slowing down the reopening of businesses.
What is this?
We've heard no home service station WNYC with this morning.
Okay, so now we're coming up on
So the mayor, Bill de Blasio, saying yesterday more than
The Y,
3% of tests
right?
are now coming back positive. That is a jump back to the number New York was
That's new.
seeing back in the early summer. What do you see happening?
That's the road at Forest Retreat.
The state, and even much
Yes.
this year, holding steady some of the lowest rates in the country, around 1%.
Well, they
In several neighborhoods, the
bought a lot of
August,
ground.
early September, numbers have been rising, creeping up to 4, 5, 6%. And these percentages, I mean, they're triple what they were a few weeks ago. Still a
Now it's hard to tell where we are.
Of a lot of the country. Mayor de Blasio, Governor Andrew Cuomo, they say the common denominator here is that these are heavily ultra-Orthodox Jewish populations. They're Haredi groups. Many of them are Hasidic, many of them are not. And, you know, people in these communities, they say, they believe they have herd immunity. So many people got it in their communities in the spring, were infected with coronavirus. And they say they're being unfairly targeted. However, it's kind of dissidents within the community that we also speak with, and they say that there is something to it, that many people have been ignoring regulations around wearing masks, around limiting the size of gatherings. You know, you can see them packing into synagogues, High Holy Days recently, onto buses, heading to their yeshivas, to their religious schools. And you see lots of social media posts with large weddings, other life cycle commemorations, hundreds and hundreds of
This
people.
is not anything I ever.
So what are the mayor and
remember. I mean,
governor
we're not.
trying to do about this?
Well, you know, they're talking to the
Nothing
rabbis,
familiar so
physicians,
far,
community
is there?
leaders, politicians in these communities. They're making tons of robocalls. They're handing out tens of thousands of face
Built a
masks.
lot of damn
The mayor
roads.
has threatened to close
Yeah.
all non-essential spaces, to limit gatherings to 10 people, to give fines if people don't wear masks. And he says there has been some traction, he believes. There's been some progress since this threat was issued last week. We've gone into the neighborhoods. You still see a lot of people without masks, a lot of evidence to the contrary.
So here
you
it
see on
is,
social media,
huh?
actually, people telling their fellow
Right.
Orthodox members to not get tested so that they won't show up positive, they won't drive the rates up, and that
I don't know where you get off the Carlisle at this point.
Well, looking at the city broadly, I mean,
But here's
it
where
looked
the-
like a lot of people were out.
The Three Barns used to
eating
be.
at restaurants, outdoors, public schools, some in-person classes happening. I mean, is all that going to potentially have to stop if these numbers go up?
Well, today, actually, this very day, was to be the first time you'll have indoor dining. 20